Hey, welcome to the first lesson of the course. Now, on this lesson, I'm going to show you how does Duik work and how to rig a character using this amazing Duik plugin. So, first thing that I'm going to do is, well, you can see that I already have my character, my vector character here on After Effects, and I imported it as a composition, so I have all my layers just like I did on Illustrator. So, right now I have this layer, which is the background. I can just go to composition settings and change the background color to this color, and now I can erase this background. Alright, that's the first thing. And now there is something really important that we must do when we are working with Duik or any other way of rigging a character, and is to change our workspace. Try to always change your workspace so that you're comfortable with it. So right now I'm on the standard workspace of After Effects, and I have saved another workspace called rigging. I named this myself, and this is my layout. So I have all my layers here, my timeline. I have the project and effect controls here on the middle, and the Duik bezel here too. And of course on the right I have the composition. So this is very good for me because I can see the whole composition here on the right, and I can open up the Duik bezel window entirely, and especially because we are going to have like a billion layers, because we're going to create bounds, structures, and controllers. So we're going to have a huge amount of layers. So if I end up working with the standard workspace, I'm going to go crazy because I will have seriously like 60 layers, and I would have to scroll and scroll and scroll just to see a couple of layers. So this layout works really good for me. So you can work with this as well. You can set your workspace like this if you feel comfortable with, or you can all work with your standard workspace. So anyway, I have this vector file and I have all my layers, and so I'm going to start working with Duik. You have here the Duik bezel window, and it's really important that on the settings you choose standard mode, because if you choose rookie mode you're not going to see some of the options. So here on settings, use standard mode. Alright, now the first thing that we must do with Duik is to create a thing called bones. Now, as you may know, if for character rigging, what we must do is to create some sort of a skeleton for our character, so that when we animate we can control some parts and it will drag all the other parts. For example, we're going to end up animating only the hand on this character, and this hand will move the elbow, will move the shoulder, and the entire arm. So that's done by creating bones, by creating a structure, and by creating puppet pins. So let's start with, let's see, we can start with the right leg, which is this one. This is the right leg and right arm, and left arm and left leg. So I'm going to start with the right leg, and what I'm going to do is to click here on the solo button so that I can see only the leg, because that's way easier this way. It's so much comfortable this way. So with this selected, I'm going to choose my puppet pin tool, and I'm going to create 3 pins like this: one on the thigh, one on the knee, and one on the foot. Now here you can see that we have the puppet pins. We have 3 puppet pins. If you want, you can rename them as ankle or foot or knee and thigh, whatever you want to name them, but that's not really necessary with this new version of Duik, because it's really very well self-explanatory. So what you must do is to change the puppet engine from advanced to legacy, and this is really important. And on triangles, go all the way up to 1500. Now the expansion is well this way, and so we have created our first puppet pins. Now all you must do is to click on the puppet here and go to Duik, and here on this part on links and contrast you can choose add bones. Once you do that, you can see that we have 3 new pins. These are the icons from Duik. We have 3 new red pins here. These are the bones. Now with these bones you can close the right leg now, and you can see that we have 3 different bones. We have the lower one, the middle one, and the top one. So these are already done. Now let's repeat the same process with all the other parts of the character. Let's go with the right arm and create a new set of puppet pins. Remember, always one on the top, one on the middle, and one on the bottom. Now click here. Remember to choose legacy and set the triangles all the way to the top. And now with this selected, just click on add bones. Now let's repeat the same thing for the left leg and the left arm. Now I'm going to do this with only one character, this part of the rigging, and because all the other characters are going to have the same rigging, so it's unnecessary that I do this on every lesson. So if you forget something along the way of the course, just go to this lesson again. Alright, let's create some pins here. Set to legacy, boost the triangles, and add bones. Now for the left arm, the same thing. So you can see how we're creating a lot of layers. So there's going to be a lot more layers. So don't be afraid. Just I'm going to show you a trick so that it doesn't get so messy. Alright, we're set with the 2 arms and the 2 legs, and now it's time to do the same for the head and the body. Now we can create one here on the waist, one pin here. Alright. And on the body, I'm going to create one here and one here on the chest. Add bones. Alright. And finally, for the head, we're going to create also some pins. I'm going to create one here on the neck and one here on the top of the head. Again, legacy, set the triangles to 1500 and create some bones. Now we have a lot of layers now, and we are not even in the halfway there. So what I always do is to try to keep this part organized so that I don't get lost later. So for example, take all the right arms layer, which is the right arm and the bones, and set a different color, for example dark green. Do the same for the right leg, for the left leg too. You can do that for the waist, for the body, for the left arm, and for the head. So now we have a ton of layers, but they are all colored by the part of the body. So the left arm has one color, and the left leg has one different color. So this isn't necessary. This is very optional, but I find this to be very helpful because we're going to have a lot of layers, so we have to try to keep things organized so that we don't go crazy here. Alright, so we have created the bones, which is a major step, and what we must do now is to create a structure, because I want to create a structure where I can guide this character to walk by. So what I'm going to do is to go here to create structures, and here on Duik you can create any structure. You can create, for example, a leg, and it's going to create a structure of the leg. You can create a spine, you can create a tail, an arm, and you can create an humanoid, which is an entire human body. So I'm going to click here, and it's going to create a whole human body. You can see it's very human-like. And what we have here is just a structure of the human body. So what we must do is is going to be, this structure is going to be used to create all the controllers that we are going to need. For example, the controller for the hands, for the foot, for the spine and the head. So this is very important, this structure. The bones are only to guide ourselves with the character, but the structure is what really matters here. So what we must do here is to attach every part of the structure to the bones that we just created. So let's start with the arms. Now we have all these layers: arm tip, hand, forearm, and arm, and you can see that it's the left arm, the part of the left arm. So I'm going to choose solo here, and I'm going to grab my left arm, and I'm going to solo it too. So I know that I have to attach these parts to the character parts. So you have to start from the top to the bottom, because if you start here, then if you move this, you are going to move this handle too. So let's start from the top to the bottom. Grab this handle right here, which should be the shoulder, and attach it to the shoulder bone. This should be the elbow, attach it to the elbow, and this can be the forearm, or in this case the hand. You can delete this, and you will have 3 different structures. Alright, you have hand, forearm, and arm. Alright, so we have completed our first arm. Now uncheck this, and let's now grab this, the part, the arm 2, forearm 2, hand 2, and arm tip 2. And this should be the right arm. Alright, repeat the same process: shoulder with shoulder, elbow with elbow, and hand with hand. Now you can delete this arm tip. Alright, uncheck everything, and let's now jump to the legs. We have heel to thigh, and this is the right leg. So we have to open the right leg here. Alright, as you can see, the legs have a ton of structures that we are not going to use. We are going to use only 3 structures. This depends on the character's complexity. If you have a character that is very complex and it has a lot of parts, of course you are going to need a bigger structure. But in this case, these characters are really simple, so I'm going to use only 3 bones. So this should be here. The knee should be with the knee, and this will be the foot. Now you can delete all the other ones and just keep these three. Alright, uncheck this, and now let's go with the opposite leg, which should be the left leg. Attach everything. So you can see that this can be a little, this can take some time, but it's really fun. Alright, we have this. We're through with the left leg now, and now it's time to attach the parts of the spline. So I'm going to select the hips, the spine, spine 2, neck and head, and spine tip, and I'm going to solo them, and I'm going to take the head too. I'm going to take the body and the waist. Alright, now again from the top to the bottom we can delete this one, and we can take these two. Oh, in this case, instead of going from the top to the bottom, we're going to go from the bottom to the top. So this should be here, the hips should be here on the hips, on the character's hips. This should be a spline. This will be spline 2. This will be the neck and the head. So you will have this. Alright, now we can check everything, and you can see the crazy amount of layers that we have now, but don't worry, we will fix this. Now here comes a part that we have to pay close attention, because we need to attach every bone with every part of the structure. So just follow what I'm doing and you will have no problem at all. So for example, let's begin with the head. We have the head and we have two pins. We have the head pin and we have the neck pin. So let's take the head pin, which is the top one, and I'm going to parent these characters, these layers. Open up this. You can open this a little bit. You can see our timeline here, and I'm going to take the head pin, which is the top one, and I'm going to select a parent for this puppet pin, which will be this one, the head. Now keep in mind that all the structure layers, all the structure that we created, will have an S at the beginning of their name, so they should be easy to find. So this puppet pin will go with S head, which is this one. Now the neck one will be with S neck. So you see what I'm doing. I'm just attaching the bones to the structure pin itself. Now let's go to the body. We have a top one and a middle one. So this one, the top one, should be with spine 2. The middle one should be a spine. And for the waist, you should attach it to the hips. So we're all set with the body. Now it's time to attach the parts, the other parts, the legs and the arms. Let's begin with the left arm. We have the left arm, the hand, the elbow and the shoulder, and we have the hand, the forearm and the arm, which is the shoulder. So let's go to the left arm, and this one, the first one, which is the shoulder, should go with S arm. This one should go with forearm, and this one with the hand. Of course, this depends on the character that you are using, but this, as you will use my characters, you are going to have to follow what I'm doing right now. Now, for the left leg, we have 3 pins too. We have 3 bones, the foot, the knee, and the thigh. So in this case, we're going to attach it to the foot. This should be attached to the calf, and this should be attached to the thigh. Alright, now we're only down to the right leg and the right arm. We have the right leg, this should be attached to foot 2. This one, the middle one, should be attached to calf 2, and this one should be attached to thigh 2. And now finally, the right arm, this should be attached to hand 2, the middle one to forearm 2, and the third one to arm 2. So you can see that this part can be a little complicated, but it's just a matter of common sense and knowing what bone should be attached to what part of the structure. And this is really simple because that's why we are taking the structure and attaching it to the bones so that we can know which bone should be attached to which part of the structure. So once that you have this, all we need to do is to take all of our structures, make sure that everything is right here, and take all the structures. And now let's open a little bit of the Duik, and you're going to go to this part, the links and constraints, and you're going to click here on auto rig. When you click here, you can see how we have the structure, the bones, and we have a new layers which are green, and they are called the controllers, which are the ones that we are actually going to animate to make this character walk. These controllers, for example, we have the hand, and if I move this controller, I'm going to move the entire hand. And as we created different bones, you can see that the arm now is blending. Okay, so that's basically what needs to be done with Duik. Once that you have this, we are ready to animate. So now you're probably going to be tired already about having so many layers, because we're not going to actually need all of these. We're only going to need these controllers. So what I'm going to do is to take all of these layers except for the controllers, and here we have the shy layer, and we're going to click here, and you can see that the little guy is now hiding. So if I click here, that means that these are shy layers. And now if I click here on hide all layers which are shy, now all my layers disappear. But it's not that we erased all these layers, we just hide it because we don't need them right now. In case that you need to do something with some of those layers, just uncheck this and do what you have to do and click again. So for example, I'm going to click on all the structures and I'm going to hide them, and I'm also going to hide all the bones because we're not going to need them anymore and they're going to be on the way. So I'm just going to hide them and keep with the controllers themselves. Now click here, and now we are set to go with the animation for the first guy. As you can see, Duik is maybe a little complicated because we have a lot of things here on the panel, but once that you know what steps you must do, it's just a piece of cake. Just take apart the annoying part where you have a bunch of layers and you have to connect some things for it, but it's actually really amazing that one single plugin can save so much time of your life by doing everything this plugin does. So as I said before, I'm not going to do this process for all the other characters because it's going to take too much time, and it's actually the same process. So I'm going to start the lesson with the characters already rigged, and we are just going to focus on creating the walking and how to create a particular walking part of every character. So in case you miss something, in case you are confused when you are creating another character, just go back to this lesson and take a review of what we just did. So let's go to the next lesson.